Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back. Appreciate y'all being here. You know I do. Uh, I hope everybody's had a great weekend. I mean, I hope you didn't get drenched from wherever you live and stuff. It's been a lot of rain and stuff and a lot of adverse weather. And seems like that we may end up having a lot more of some critical weather, catastrophic weather. And a lot of that would have to do with what they are now calling a Super El Nino. Now, that's when the heat rises, the ocean's heat temperature rises, mixed with the atmosphere, causes catastrophic hurricanes or catastrophic tornadoes, heavy monsoons throughout this country and around the world. And they're predicting it, and it kind of looks like it might be leaning that way, but there's always a chance that it could slow down and maybe not be as bad as they're predicting it. But they're predicting it between now 2026 and through the end of summer of 2027. So being prepared for that is highly important, guys. I mean, highly important, especially if you're bunkering in, right? Staying in, and you're not going to like bug out or go anywhere. You're going to fortify your house, fortify wherever you are, your property, as best that you can. Me, I have cameras all over the freaking place. I got cameras that run off the electric and cameras that run off solar, just in case, right? I've talked about this once before, and I did, was talking about those solar generators. And I went ahead and decided I'm going to probably go ahead and get the one. I'm going to get a Jackery. I'm going to get it with a 500 watt solar panel, and then maybe two of them. And I'm going to get like a 3600 that'll push and run everything that I basically need to run. And then I'm going to get a small one. I hate to spend the money, but I'm going to get the small one also. And the reason I'm going to get it, because that'll power phones and stuff that I don't want to use my big stuff, because that's going to be running refrigerator, freezer, and stuff like that. Coffee pot, got to have coffee, right? So, I have Coleman stoves and stuff like that, and I use the propane canisters. I got enough to run a couple of months on if I use it wisely, longer. But being prepared for this El Nino, which could critically change our weather in this country, and like I said, around the world. Long-term storable food is going to be a must. This is one of the better kinds. I tasted it. It's really good. 4 Patriots. You can see possibly over my shoulder right here, 4 Patriots. That there's a 72-hour pack. Get like 20 of them. And plus I've got about 5 months worth of storable food already, stored from that, and 2 different other kinds. Very important. Try to keep my pantries fully stocked with short-term, non-perishable foods and stuff like that, canned goods, stuff like that. Very important. Another thing, and it is very important, and you got to have, and whether you want to keep it or not, you got to have cash, right? Got to have a bunch of cash. Cash is going to be very important. So is, gold and silver and stuff like that. That's going to be very important too. But whenever the doo-doo hits that proverbial fan, or if this weather gets this way, because that's what we also prep for. We prep for the weather, because if it gets really bad weather, that shuts down the food supply lines. Could be problems, right? If you live near coasts or live where earthquakes can happen, or massive tornadoes, or even Midwest and stuff, major storms. This El Nino, the Super El Nino, could be a really, really big problem. And could knock out a whole lot of stuff for a whole long time. So having extra power, that you can use besides electrical power, solar power is good. A regular generator is good, but if you're not living in a place that you can store 400 gallons of fuel for it, it might be a good idea to go ahead and knuckle down, which is what I'm going to do. I hate spending the money for these electric generators, solar power generators, but it is what it is. I don't want to be caught with my, what down. So that's what I plan on doing. Also, this here, and I talk about drones, and I have DJI, and I love them, and you can still get the kinds I have. They're already pre-approved and all this good stuff, and they're just as good. You don't need the top of the line, the brand new. And of course, you can't buy them here anyways. The Potentic Atom 2, you can't get the Atom 3. They can't sell it here. But this here is a very inexpensive drone. Very inexpensive, under $100. It's got a camera on it. You can see the camera. You got to use your telephone for the screen, but you got to do on a lot of other drones anyway. So I'm just saying you need one. You kind of need one to know what's going on a block or two over. And this will also do it. It'll do the job fairly well. Not as good, quite as good as a DJI. This is not as noisy as a DJI, but the DJI can zoom up to 300-400 feet with a telephoto, lens that it's got on it, digital zoom, and it can see the ground where they can't hear you. This has got to be a little lower, so they can probably hear this, but it's a Vizio. All right, so this particular model you really can't get no more, but they've upgraded them, and you can get them. They're cheap, $100, and it's good just to have at least one. I like to have a couple just to cover my back, but that's why I like to have smaller solar panels so I can charge the batteries of these things, and my bigger solar generator battery, which will power my, refrigerator, freezer, stuff like that, coffee. Might even go run some fans and run the TV to satellite. I have satellite TV; it'll run that too. Because I myself, probably, and my neighbors around where I live, we're bugging in. If anything happens, we're staying here, and we'll defend our little land right here. And there's enough of us here that we can pretty much defend it against most, But it's just food for thought, You gotta think. And some of this stuff, and you may think of 100 other different things, and that's great. But this El Nino may not be nothing to dick around with. You know what I'm saying? This Super El Nino could be a real major problem. And if it's not this year, it's probably going to be next year because, ironically, how most people don't want to say it, global warming. Well, the globe is warming, whether we did it or whether the Earth just does it on its own, because I think the Earth kind of just goes this way. It kind of just goes that way. It gets up, gets cold, gets up and hot. We're in a hot period. But it still could be bad with like a Super El Nino and all the heat from the weather and stuff from it. We could be looking at some very, very harsh times to live in. Okay. So be prepared. That's why you prep. Be prepared for weather. Be prepared for civil disorder. You be prepared for economic collapse. That's what we do. That's just what we do. Right. So, all right, then. Hey, look, there's nothing but love for you. I truly mean it. Thanks for stopping by. Cover your six, man. Just cover your six and take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones and all that good stuff, and also take a few moments to smell the roses, as they say, smell the flowers. It's a figurative speech. Enjoy life. Okay. Enjoy what we can before we can't. Come November and come in 2028, this whole place could change and it could be the worst place we'd ever wanted to live. So I'm just saying, food for thought. May not never happen. Who knows? But it's food for thought. So, all right. Then until next time, everybody take it easy. Okay. And we'll talk to you later.